I'm Jason Gilbo, Jake Gilbo 11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at the FanDuel slate here, 14 games. We actually have some pitching to pay up for, which is nice. And I feel comfortable here on FanDuel. I think there's a lot of decent value options that you can kind of sit in a mid range and kind of work some magic there.
Definitely work some magic. The good news is, in terms of pricing for elite pitchers, Syndergaard's actually pretty reasonable. He's not even over 11K, so that's nice. Usually it'd be like 12 or something. So, obviously I think that's who you're looking at in cash. But it does make things a little easier on here compared to, DraftKings.
Yeah, because that second SP2 spot, you can't really spin down to anyone cheap.
Right.
It's kind of okay here. And Syndergaard, I mean, as you mentioned, he's fairly reasonably priced. Leaves you with about 3K left over each position, which is it's very doable on tonight's slate.
Definitely.
Looking at catcher here, and this is where an option where I think you can kind of start to spin down. And there's this range between 28 and 3,200 that I'm in love with, and it kind of kicks things off with Victor Martinez at 32. And then you kind of work your way down from Wieters, McCann, and Vogt. And McCann obviously being the GPP play of the group. But the other ones, I'm all aboard on tonight.
Right. I think in terms of cash, that's who you probably want to look at in that range. One of those four. Obviously, everyone's going to have their own preference. I prefer probably Martinez there, but I think those three and Vogt are all in play.
Yeah, I like Vogt a lot. And Martinez obviously the big track record. He's been much more consistent. Vogt, getting Fister there, 327 wobble out to lefties. Minute Maid Park's obviously nice for lefty power. So, his price has kind of come up, but that's because he's been hitting the ball well of late. And I'll kind of jump on it still below 3K.
Yeah, Yan Gomes as well. I like those one-offs in that game tonight. So for the Cleveland side, so I think he's sort of in play in a tournament sense as well.
Yeah, and something that was different from DK to FanDuel is Derek Norris was priced quite highly. Norris has been a guy in the past who's had a decent track record against lefties, and we were kind of joking around about the Padres being actual legitimate targets tonight. And at their prices more so on FanDuel, I think it's a little bit easier to do so if you wanted to.
Right. And Drew Butera, he's been crushing the last few days, and he's only 2,500. So I think he's in play as well from a tournament sense. Obviously, sort of a small sample size on this year, and he hasn't been too standoutish like the last few days, but I think he's in play.
It's a tough matchup with Salazar, but
yeah.
I think price considered, I still prefer Norris just because he's getting a weaker lefty.
That's fair.
Looking at first base here, and it's kind of obvious that 4,600, Ortiz, yes, he's priced highly, but overall, there's not much stopping him right now.
No. Again, I'm fine with paying up for him if you can. If you can make it happen, I'm in. If you're fading Syndergaard, then you definitely want to get an Ortiz in your lineup. But if you're not, I think you got to start spinning down here. I do think there's some interesting options a little lower.
Yeah, a Miguel Cabrera for a full 1,000 less, getting Rodon there. That's kind of a come down option. It's a little easier to roster guys like Zimmerman and Cabrera because there is a decent price difference from Ortiz. Where on DK, they were kind of closer together.
Bunched together, right. And Will Myers' price here is a little more palatable than DraftKings, so I'm okay with that price here, and I think it's okay to do Padres tonight on FanDuel.
Mm-hmm. One guy I like Hanley Ramirez quite a bit. 3,300. I think you're still getting exposure to this Red Sox game, which is nice. Ramirez has had an all right track record against Dickey. Dickey hasn't really been that strong this year, and you're looking at Vegas, and they project once again. Almost every night that the Red Sox are going to be over 5 runs, and you're kind of thinking once again that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So you get down below 3K, and then you get a lot of one-off tournament guys, pretty much at first. You look at Prince Freeman, Teixeira, those types. Obviously, all low sort of floor guys, but they have that home run power. Well, Prince might not anymore, but I mean, we still perceive him to have home run power, and his historical splits say so. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think looking at some of those guys, I mean, John Jace was kind of your stronger cash game option just because he's been more reliable in that range. So if you did need to spin down a little bit further, 3K is not a bad price tag.
Right. And Tommy Joseph's been hitting in the top of the order. Obviously, not a perfect matchup tonight, but 2,000, he's the min price if he plays. So if he's in the lineup, interesting punt.
Yeah, it is definitely. Looking at second base here, and it's kind of tough to pay up for Cano tonight, but Daniel Murphy 4,400, not a bad option, even though lefty on lefty, he's hit lefty as well this year. And once again, I mean, he's just pack crushing the ball as really he has been all year. And in that ballpark, I think the Nationals bats are in a really good spot.
This is more reasonable in how I think things should be priced. He's a solid option and the top option tonight, in my opinion. But that's a tough price to fit in with a Syndergaard lineup. You might be able to make it work, but you'd probably have to throw some punts in there. But probably not paying up for him unless I'm doing a national stack.
Mm-hmm. Pedroia is kind of a guy I'm really on tonight. I mean, he's hitting the ball really well of late. I mean, 6-2 hit games over the last 7 or 8 there, and 4K, not a big price tag. I mean, you're looking against Dickey once again. I'm fine with targeting him. And with Pedroia, I mean, it is a little bit of a difference. I think you can kind of spin up or spin down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I like that call. If you want to go up there, I think he's a great option.
Some of these Indians bats, I know you're kind of talking about targeting Volquez a little bit, and I like Kipnis's price there, 3,300. A decent spot there. I'm obviously hitting second in the order. Volquez been fairly middle of the road, to say the least, is against lefties, and I think Kipnis at that price tag's definitely worth a look.
Yeah, no, I like that call. I mean, he's only like the 7th guy, but it's a big price drop from the top options. So that's definitely a nice option there.
Yeah. And one guy we were looking at from that Texas game, 2,500, Jurickson Profar, who's kind of stood in for Odor there and hit pretty well. And he's been very reliable up top. And I think cash game wise, it doesn't look like they're expecting a really strong game from Walker, who's been really inconsistent. And even if he is on his game, I still think Profar is a guy who can reach base once or twice and kind of just pay off that price tag.
Yeah, again, when you get in that range, you're just looking for a few hits and maybe a stolen base or something. So yeah, definitely looking at that there. I like that call. Starlin Castro as well in that same range. But yeah, other than that, Jed Lowry, 2,700, sort of the one-off from that A's game.
Yep.
Nice range there for sure. Definitely solid pay down options at second tonight.
Yeah, there is. And that's what kind of takes Murphy the little bit of excitement out of Pedroia and him, just because you do have some range of options down low that you feel pretty good about. And obviously with Syndergaard being your kind of cash game lock tonight, you need to kind of probably sit in that range anyway.
Right.
Third base here, and it's kind of a different story. I don't want to pay up for really any of these top guys. I'm just not a big fan of really anyone over 3,800.
Yeah, none of them are in perfect spots like you'd like. So, and again, you're probably looking to pay down here. Obviously they all have upside just because of who they are, but the splits aren't perfect. And yeah, I think paying down's the option here.
Yeah, I mean, you got Frazier going up against Zimmerman. Mariners are going against Yu Darvish. Hernando moves to Petco against Pomeranz, who I'm targeting tonight. I like him a lot. Donaldson against Price. I mean, Beltre you can look at as a tournament option if you're kind of on that Texas team. He's been hitting the ball well of late.
Right. Yeah, Beltre is solid. I think Texas is an interesting contrarian way to go. I think they have some upside. But yeah, other than that, I think we're kind of looking a little lower. Jose Ramirez, Nick Castellanos, that type of move.
Yeah, and I mean, a couple of guys that we talked about is Dave Valencia, I mean, heating up, but his price has also jumped up quite a bit here on FanDuel, but deservingly so. So I think if I am going to
Hmm.
try and stick in that mid-range, Valencia is kind of my guy there.
Definitely, yeah. 3,600. That's a solid price for him and what he's been doing pretty much. I mean, for a while now, he's kind of kept us up here. So I think we gotta at least trust it a little bit at this point.
Yeah, definitely. One guy lower, Jung Ho Kang, 3,100. I think this Pirates team could be somewhat sneaky, and they are dealing with some injuries, so there could be something that really opens up there. That's going to be a team to kind of keep an eye on as far as lineup wise. But you look at Weaver. I mean, not relatively strong against right-handers. Um, allows home runs. I think Kang has tremendous upside. A little bit higher strikeout rate than I would like, but you look at Weaver. He doesn't miss a ton of bats, and I feel much more comfortable using him.
I like that call, and he has some home run upside as well. So I do like that. That could definitely work.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of about as low as I'm going to go. I think Kane just kind of fits in that perfect 3,100 range that I'm finding myself consistently in as building lineups today.
Definitely.
So, third base here, and this one's a little bit different because Correa is, obviously your top price guy. I'm still on the Bogarts train at 3,900. I just think he kind of beats out all those guys around him in this matchup here, and he's just dialed in, hitting third in the lineup. I mean, you can't get him out at this point. He's just become a consistent lock.
I mean, literally, you just can't get him out, and it's unfortunate for opposing teams. So, yeah, I like him. I think that's a reasonable price. Obviously, Correa on DK is a much better value, but yeah, I don't really like him here. So, definitely going Bogarts over Correa if they're an even matchup, and in this case, they're not even an even matchup. So, yeah, give me Bogarts there and over Machado as well.
Yeah, I mean, Uvalde's been tough on right-handers. You look at Kozar, I mean, facing a slightly above average lefty. Lindor, 3,500. I don't think it's enough of a price difference for me to move off of Bogarts.
No.
400 is just not that big. I'll take the price cut and kind of move up there a bit.
Right. Yeah. One off for sure in a tournament. Again, I like Cleveland as an underrated sort of stacking option tonight, but not not Lindor over Bogarts. Like I like them. I don't like them like that.
Yeah, it's tough to kind of pay down at the spot tonight just because one, um, there's not a lot of punt options. I mean, I don't see anyone I really like. I mean, you can kind of make a case for a Freddie Galvis at 2,700,
Right.
but
And
outside
Brad
of that,
Miller. Brad Miller might get his game postponed, so that's another one that might be out the window.
yeah. So I mean, you look down low. I mean, you don't have a lot of guys that they can kind of get behind. I mean, it's difficult to pay down. So I think maybe you circle shortstop and try and keep an eye on his lineups come out and see
Mhm.
what you can do with some of these guys.
Right.
They are hitting higher in the lineup, but outside of that, I mean, I really can't tell you the single bat below 3K here that I like at shortstop.
If Gregorio Pettit is in the lineup, he's the cheap sort of throw-in guy that you're looking for. But yeah, other than that, I don't think you're really looking low.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Moving over to outfield here, and once again, I mean, you kind of got some top options up there, but pitching considered tonight, I think you kind of sit below 4K. At least that's what I plan on doing.
Yeah, I do like Trout tonight. I like the Angels a little bit, but yeah, that's just too expensive, unfortunately. And I mean, Mookie, I don't like doubting that guy at this point. I mean, I'm okay with paying up for him, but probably not gonna fit for me a lot tonight.
Yeah, no, I think so. That's the problem. I mean, the price tags are relatively high. And I think there are some decent options below 4K.
Hmm.
I like JD Martinez getting the lefty there. You look at Rodon, 350 WOBA allowed, 1.16 home runs per nine in his career. Martinez has hit lefties well, big power numbers. And I think you can kind of look at him as a decent cash game option if you're kind of paying up a little bit more.
Right. Jason Worth, definitely a solid if you like Nationals tonight, which I think both of us do, 3,500, that's a solid option.
Yeah, I like Worth quite a bit. A little bit more so here on FanDuel. I think he carries a decent value. WOBA over
Hmm.
400 this year against lefties. So it's a decent spot for him. And if you can look lower, Matt Kemp, I still think he's a great play at 3,200. DK, he was the fifth or sixth highest priced outfielder.
Yep.
So you're going to kind of get him here, who's his ISO and WOBA is back up against lefties this season. You like that, and he's also facing a guy who has allowed a 369 WOBA since 2014, a righty. So I think Kemp's very much in play, kind of more so in all formats here, not quite so much as GPPs, as I mentioned on DK.
I want to describe this as, I wanted to say it's hilarious, but it's not funny because it hurts my feelings. But like I mentioned a few weeks ago, I go by Matt Kemp in the player pool every night and be like, and then I'd pass over him. And these last few days have been like the days to play him, and I just haven't played him, not once. So he's finally viable. I think the streaking Padres team, I'm okay with them tonight. I'm okay with it. So, again, I think if you want to get some Padres shares, Matt Kemp's a great way to do it.
Yep, no, I definitely agree. He's kind of my top option if I'm taking the Padre tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Coco Crisp, I like the A's lefties here, and Coco Crisp is another one at a decent price tag, 3K. Great ballpark there. Fister struggle with lefties. I think Oakland kind of could be a sneaky value stack, more so here on FanDuel. You kind of get him, Valencia, Vogt in there, a possible Lowry for pretty cheap with Syndergaard, and then you can kind of get some other, high upside bats around them.
Yeah, and Chris being there kind of takes, we were talking about on DK, Justin Upton, kind of just hoping he finds himself. I think, and with Maben being cheaper or the same price, it's kind of like, no, I don't know that the risk is actually worth it on FanDuel tonight.
Yeah, he was 2,700 on DK. You were fine taking the zero if, taking the risk here. I don't feel that comfortable doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Nomar Mazara was a guy you were looking at. A little bit better price tag here, 2,700. I imagine you're on him, here as well.
Even more so here. Again, it's not I don't know what to think about that. That DK Walker price is weirding me out. So maybe something's up. Even if not, I think he's a good punt tournament play. Obviously, he's got the power with how he hits those home runs, So we'll see. I think he's a good punt.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're kind of looking at some of those Rangers bats. It's probably contrarian moves to a lot of other hitters on tonight's slate. If Michael A. Taylor for the Nationals slips into the top of the lineup at 2,400, I might give him a look because, one, he would complete a national stack up being up top and would be kind of a cheap outfielder, and you don't see a lot down there that you really like.
Right. Yeah. That's a good call. Again, I think the Nationals are we'll see how the ownership percentages shake out, but maybe they won't be.
We'll see how the ownership shakes out.
Yes. yes. I don't think they're going to be too high owned. I think they'll be like 10 to 15% in tournaments, something like that. But other than that, I think they're an interesting stack.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And one kind of may vary in all price ranges.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to wrap things up here with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.